So we are at that time of year where it is so close to people moving out to university, and I know that a lot of you guys are probably moving out this year. Like, it's probably my most DM'd thing, like, oh, I'm moving to uni, I'm really nervous, can you give me advice on blah 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 blah. And it is a really daunting time. When I think back to August last year, it was one of the most confused states that I had ever been in. So if you're fairly new to my channel, you don't know the little journey that I went on, but basically I was very undecided on whether or not I was going to go to uni. I decided quite last minute that I was going to do an art foundation course, and I applied and went to Leeds Art College, or Leeds Art Uni even. I have spent the last year studying there, but I did not have the smoothest journey. I really didn't think that I was going to stick it out. I really didn't enjoy it to start off with, and that was just purely because I was so confused about whether or not the course was right for me, and I think this is a really common feeling. So having been through that and having come out of the other side and realised that actually I'm really glad that I did stick it out, I'm really glad that I spent the year living in Leeds, I thought I would answer some of your burning questions for the next few weeks before you guys move to uni. And if you're watching this and you're already in second year or third year, there's definitely some helpful advice as well that I think I can offer, because obviously my friends are going into second year. I know a lot of people have already finished university, so generally I feel like I have a fairly wide collection of knowledge. Like, my flatmates last year were all in different stages of university, like we weren't all freshers. So I asked for questions off Instagram that you guys wanted to know, specifically about living in a shared flat, because this video is so kindly sponsored by Unite Students. Now, if you've watched a lot of these kind of videos, you'll know that I've been working with Unite for the last year, and that has been amazing because I did actually live in a Unite Students block myself. They are a brand of student flat. Basically, they have a lot of property in Leeds. There are a lot of Unite Student blocks, and now that I don't live there, I'll just tell you, because I used to get questions all the time about which specific Unite Students block I lived in, and I lived in Concept Place, which is kind of like on the west side of Leeds, and I really liked it. The location was good, and if you want to see in more depth what that block of flats looked like, I did like a room tour, vlogs and all sorts of stuff, which I'll link down below from this time last year. But yeah, obviously I don't live there anymore, don't even own the keys to that flat anymore, so it doesn't really matter. I used to live there, I don't anymore. I really would recommend it. Like, honestly, all of the flats I went in, I've been in a few other ones across Leeds because I had friends living in various other ones, and they were all just really nice. So I'm going to jump straight into the questions, because one of the things that really was quite a nerve-wracking thought for me was living with strangers. Like, up until the point of 18, you've always lived with your family. Like, I don't really know anybody at age 18 that's already moved out and lived with other people. So it is quite a nerve-wracking thought, and I think that was one of my biggest fears. I uploaded a vlog where I went to view my flat about this time last year. Actually, I was so unsettled about the thought of it. I was really anxious. I was really working myself up, so I really know how you're feeling if you are moving in September and you feel nervous. So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of these questions for you. The first one that I got a lot of was it awkward living with people you didn't know? The answer to that is obviously it is, to start with. Like, you're in a situation that you've never been in before, and these people are literal strangers, you don't know them. The great thing about the Unite student blocks is that you are put in a group chat before you actually start. So Unite have an app that looks like this. Basically on the app you find your flatmates and your flat number, and you can talk in the chat. And I had actually spoken to 3 out of my 4 flatmates before we moved in, so I kind of like, I knew their names, we'd added each other on social media from that app. So I had been speaking to them for about a month prior to me starting, but obviously it's still awkward. Living in a shared space with people you don't know is a strange situation, but you do get used to it really quickly. You fall into routines of, you know who gets up when, you know who goes out when, if people are coming in late, you know usually who that is, and like, it falls into place really quickly. But initially, yes, it is awkward. I think getting over that, there are a lot of things you can do, which I will move on to in the next question. So yeah, another great question that I got was, what are some good talking points for getting to know people? It's awkward and it's weird, but I think just talking about university is obviously a massive reason as to why you're all there. So what course they're doing, what year they're in, because my flatmates were actually in second and third year. There was 2 of us that were freshers, and then, oh no, 3 of us that were freshers, 1 of us in second year and 1 of us in third year. Yeah, just talking about the course and then what they studied at A-level, whereabouts in the country they're from. A lot of the time what I found with Leeds is a lot of people were from like the general Yorkshire area. I either knew people that had come from where they live, or they knew people that were from my hometown, or there were things that we could like talk about that we had in common, or even just like holidays we'd been on, stuff like that, because if you can find any common ground, that initially breaks the ice. I think also as well, obviously you're sharing a kitchen usually, so talking about if you want to cook together, or like what kind of meals they eat, stuff like that. Like one of my flatmates and I, we always made sure we'd like tell each other when we were eating, and we would like eat together to start off with, because then you're automatically going to get to know each other if you're like sharing an oven with them. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, they're general good starting points. Your friends, your family, your boyfriends, pets. That was a big one for me because I got my dog like the weekend that I moved in. My family replaced me with a puppy, so I was showing my flatmates like, oh, my parents have just got this dog, and I was like showing them. This one kind of makes me sad because I got this a lot. How to deal with flatmates who go out clubbing all the time when that isn't what you're into. That really doesn't matter. So my flat was a very mixed bunch. There was like 3 of us that would go out a lot, and then 2 people that wouldn't really go out as much, or at least not all of us together, and that worked fine. You do just have to find a common ground, because the longer you know people, the more you'll know what they're comfortable with and what they're not. And if you're not into clubbing, that is really okay. Like this time last year, I really wasn't into nights out. I didn't really want to go out. Like I didn't see the point in it, and actually going to uni really changed that for me, as I think it will for most people. Like a lot of people maybe haven't been out much before then, and I don't even mean that in like a, oh, we all got drunk all the time sense. I mean in like a socializing sense. It was quite a big thing, because to start off with I was like, oh, I feel a bit uncomfortable, I don't know the city, I don't really know these people. But eventually that became what we loved to do together. Like we'd be able to have a whole week where we maybe hadn't seen each other, and then we'd go out and it would be just really, really nice. If you're not into clubbing and you don't want to try it, you will definitely find people similar to that, maybe on your course or other people in your building. If your flatmates really, really love going out and you don't, that's fine. Like you will find your people. And if you're bothered by them coming in really late, maybe just speak to them, because obviously, again, everybody is different, and there were occasions in my flat where we had to like tell people like, oh, we don't mind you going out, but when you come in at like 4 in the morning, just be quiet. Like don't be loud. And that was fine. Like you have to handle situations as adults. You're not all going to be the same. How long did it take you to settle in? Now this is so different for every single person. I had friends that settled into their flat, their uni and their flatmate situation instantly. Like they got there and they took to it like a little duck to water. They were so comfortable. I took a lot longer, so I was really homesick, really homesick for probably the first 2 months, 3 months. I was really like, oh, I don't like this, I really want to go home. And then probably around Christmas time I started to really settle in. Leeds at Christmas was incredible. The city just comes alive, and I absolutely loved it. And I started to realise that I loved living in Leeds, and that what the actual issue was that I didn't enjoy the course. From that point I think I had settled in. I was friends with my flatmates, I had friends in my course, and I started to become a lot more comfortable. But I know some people that only really started settling in towards the end of first year, and that's fine. Like you're there for 3 or 4 years usually if you're doing a full degree, so everybody takes a different amount of time. But if you're watching this and you know that you're starting in September, I would say give it a trial period, because if you go and you don't like it in the first week or so, you haven't really tried it. Like I appreciate that maybe you think it's just definitely not right and you want to write it off straight away, but I also think that if I'd have done that, I would have missed out on so many amazing opportunities, amazing friendships, amazing experiences, because I shut it down so quickly. Set yourself an end goal. So for me, I had my birthday, which is the end of October, and I thought if I'm here at the end of October and I still feel this unhappy, I'm gonna drop out, but I'm gonna give it to my birthday. So set yourself some kind of end goal. Don't write it off if you're not feeling settled, because it might just become the best thing you've ever done. Dealing with homesickness, you're speaking to the right person. This was the hardest thing for me. I didn't anticipate being homesick, and my flatmate, 2 of them were freshers, but one of them had their girlfriend living in Leeds with them, and the other one was like just really comfortable really quickly, and that was fine. And then my other 2 flatmates had already done either a year or 2 years in Leeds, so they knew the city, they knew their friends. I was really out of my depth very quickly, and dealing with homesickness was really hard. But I would FaceTime my boyfriend at least twice a week. Obviously he was back at home. I would come home a lot, which I know some people say don't do, but I was within enough distance to come home a lot. And then whilst I was at uni, I would just distract myself. So I found that going out and making plans really helped. So even if it was just, oh, do you want to go to Wetherspoons tonight, or do you want to get a McDonald's, or shall we go for a walk? Or the good thing about Leeds was there was always stuff going on, so we could find events to go to, gigs to go to, clubs to go to. And making plans became my thing. Like I loved to know what I was doing. So I think keeping yourself busy is important, and then eventually you'll realise that being busy has kind of distracted you from the homesickness sickness. Kind of already touched on this, but somebody said, did you get the names or the links to your roomies before you moved in? And yes, I did. Again, as I mentioned, if you're staying in a Unite student block, then it is easy to do that. You just do it via the app. It's so straightforward. We did that for about a month. If you're not staying in Unite, then you can just find them on Facebook. Often there'll be like group chats for the building name or group chats for the university. So I also was in a chat for my course. It does help because then when you start, you're like, oh, you're so-and-so or you're so-and-so, and it's easier like that. So I definitely think Unite is great for that. Somebody said, what to do if you don't get on with the people you're living with? So I think in my university vlogs last year, I did actually mention this, but I can't remember. I was really kind of unhappy with my flat situation when I moved in because I was the only girl in the flat. So initially in that first week, I did speak to the people at Unite about swapping flats, and they were so good about it. They were like, if you're really uncomfortable, we can try and move you, like it'll be quite easy to do it, but like give it a bit of time. And I'm really glad that I did, because my flat was, it was weird and it was dysfunctional, but it worked. I was just obviously really nervous to start off with. If you're super unhappy, speak to people and you can probably move. Like, it's not impossible. But if you just have little niggly things, speak to them. Like, you're starting your university life, you're not a child anymore, you're not in college. Handle the situation like an adult, and I think it's easiest to just message them if you don't want to do it face to face and be like, hey look, I'm feeling a bit out of my comfort zone and I don't like that you're leaving the kitchen in a mess all the time. Because if you don't say anything, it's not going to get sorted out. And there were quite a lot of times where in our flat we would speak to one person, people would speak to me and be like, oh, like you woke me up in the night, or like stuff like that. It's going to be difficult because it's a strange situation to be in, but I think talking is the best thing. Best way to get to know your flatmates without it being awkward. Just really quickly, I'll list a few activities we did, because like we did go out a few times. So we went to Wetherspoons, we went out for tea a couple of times, we played crazy golf, we also did an escape room, but that was later on in the year. And then obviously Freshers Week has a few like themed events, so you can kind of like go to them together. Going to Freshers Fairs, they were all the things we did outside of the flat, but we would also have like movie nights, cooking nights, even just walking into town together, like to go to Morrison's together. Helps you really break the ice. Okay, and the last question was, are you still mates with your flatmates and would you meet up with them? So we weren't super close just because we're all really different people. However, I did get on with absolutely everybody, and we all said that next year when we're back in Leeds, if I'm back in Leeds, that we'll go on a night out, and I definitely want to go back and see them all during Freshers Week so that I can like go to Freshers in Leeds, live my best Fresher life, and then come back again because I'm not a student there anymore. However, they are all either going into their last year or going into second year, so yeah, I definitely want to see them again for a night out. That basically wraps up that Q&A. I think I've covered most things, but if you know that you're moving out soon and you've got any other flat related questions, let me know down in the comments. It can be a really daunting time, trust me, I really know that. But yeah, I think I've covered most things. Thank you so much to Unite for working with me on this. I will leave a link to their website and their blog down below, because I have actually written a little blog post for their website. If you want to read a little bit more about this topic, then there will be a link to that down below as well. But yeah, definitely check them out. If you got your A-level results last week, I hope everything went really well for you guys, and I hope you've got into the uni of your choice. And if you haven't, then it might just be like a silver lining, a blessing in disguise, because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I hope you guys have found this helpful. Give it a huge thumbs up if you have, and I shall be back with a few more freshers related, back to school advice kind of style videos very soon. Bye guys.